Greetings, everyone. Well, today, this was just going to be a simple little Blu-ray update, but I thought, what the heck, let's go all deluxe. Why not? So rather than just being a simple little Blu-ray update, it's going to be my entire collection that has to do with these two things update overview thing. Yeah. So everybody knows the wonderful world of Jim Henson. And everybody knows that in the 80s, he decided to experiment a little bit by teaming up with acclaimed fantasy artist Brian Froud. And what he came up with were two of the most fondly remembered fantasy movies of the 80s. I'm of course talking about Labyrinth and The Dark Crystal, which I now proudly own on Blu-ray. This was really cheap too. This was like, I think this was like $12.99. So basically got the 2-pack for about $6.50 a movie or something like that. Not too shabby at all. Yeah. So what we're going to talk about today is the Blu-rays, as well as all the other related Labyrinth and Dark Crystal stuff that I have in my collection. Today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. Yeah, these are two that I wanted to pick up basically since they were first released. As a matter of fact, I think I mentioned the Dark Crystal Blu-ray back when I did my original in-depth look at the Dark Crystal DVD collector's set a while back. So if you dig through my old videos, you can probably find that one in there. Just search Dark Crystal in my videos, and then you should find it pretty easily. By the way, if you want to search my videos for anything, I know I'm really bad at putting up links back to old. I know a lot of YouTubers put like links at the front and back, like go here for the previous video, go here for the next video, and then they put all kinds of fancy stuff at the end about go here and check out all these other videos. Yeah, I'm too damn lazy to do that, so I figured, there's a search function for my videos, so if you want to see if I've covered something, just search the damn videos. That's it. Just go to the main channel page. There's a little search box over the list of videos. Type in what you're looking for. I always put the name of the movie that I'm talking about in the tags, in the description, and sometimes in the title. So it should be pretty easy to find what you're looking for and see if I've covered it. Alrighty, so without any further ado, let's get on to the Blu-rays here. I'll just say right off the bat, these both look fantastic. They are absolutely the best both of these movies have ever looked and probably ever will look. Definitely true to the film source, lots of film grain. And just beautiful, beautiful details. So beautiful, in fact, that you can actually see some of the little, you can see sort of the matte edge on some of the composite shots and whatnot, which for someone like me who's interested in the way things used to be done back in the day, I don't mind that stuff at all. I'm just happy to see that it's true to the source material, and it's great to see. So let's take a look first at Labyrinth. Honestly, I've always been more of a fan of the Dark Crystal than Labyrinth, but whatever, I know a lot of you feel differently, and who cares, we're talking about both of them anyway, so it doesn't really matter which one we start with. So this is Labyrinth on Blu-ray, very nice. On the back, lots of special features. I think these all carry over from the 25th anniversary edition, or whatever it was that they put out a few years ago on DVD. So special features, we have commentary with Brian Froud, making of documentary, Inside the Labyrinth, Journey Through the Labyrinth, Kingdom of Characters and the Quest for Goblin City, and a Blu-ray exclusive, this is quite extensive, The Storytellers, picture-in-picture track featuring interviews with Cheryl Henson, puppeteer Kevin Clash, Henson puppet makers Roland Cruson and Connie Peterson, actor Warwick Davis, and makeup artist Nick Dudman. So lots of behind-the-scenes goodies on here, which is really fascinating for me to see with these movies, because it really gives you an insight into just how difficult it is to make these Muppet movies. I mean, these guys are really at the peak of their craft here, and really doing some amazing things. There's a lot of archival footage as well of interviews with Jim Henson on both of these that gives you a lot of insight into the making of the various creatures and and how they got them to move and stuff like that. And then very, very cool. And then if we take a look inside, actually quite nice. Have a nice simple disc art there, but you know, doesn't have to be complicated. It's very pretty. I always like the logo on that actually, and then you got some artwork that you can see through the case there, which is quite nice. So there you go. So that is Labyrinth on Blu-ray. We'll just put that over here. And then we have The Dark Crystal, or Le Crystal Magique. Doesn't that translate to the magic crystal? There's no hint of darkness there. I don't know why. I don't know why they changed title. Ow! Why they changed titles like that? It's kind of odd, like when they put them in different languages. Anyway, so here we've got a ton of stuff, which makes me very happy because I've always loved this movie. Special features. We have again another commentary with Brian Froud, The World of the Dark Crystal documentary, Reflections of the Dark Crystal, Light on the Path of Creation and Shard of Illusion. Original Skeksis language, test scenes. Yeah, one thing that's kind of cool about this is the Skeksis scenes. Originally the Skeksis were not going to speak English. They were going to speak their own language. So they had actually developed a language for the Skeksis to speak. And they had filmed most of the Skeksis scenes with the characters speaking in that language, and then later dubbed it over in English when they realized, it might be going a little bit far, because they really wanted to go. I mean, this was the big experiment right here, where they really wanted to go all out and you know, have just the wild imagination and dark fantasy sort of visuals of Brian Froud brought to life through the magic of Jim Henson and his Creature Shop. I mean, prior to this, they'd really just done the Muppets and hadn't really done anything on this scale before. I mean, they'd done some of the Muppet movies, of course, but this was like a really big experiment, having a movie with no humans in it whatsoever. It was just all these creature creations, and really fantastic. That could be why I was a little disappointed with Labyrinth, because I was kind of hoping Labyrinth would be the same kind of thing. You know, that it would just be all creature creations and no human characters. And then, yeah. And I've said before how much I am madly in love with Jennifer Connelly. While I do adore her, I have to say, honestly, I think her character in Labyrinth is a bit of a bitch. I mean, that whole scene where she's basically asking the goblins to take the kid away and the kid's just bawling his eyes out. That's Brian Froud's kid, by the way. Was just heartbreaking, and she was just so nasty and mean to this kid, and quite frankly I thought the kid would be happier with the goblins. You know, he was having a blast with them. I don't know. Anyway, whatever. The Dark Crystal. So we got lots of cool stuff on the Dark Crystal, and if we open it up, just got a little ad there for additional Blu-ray stuff. Actually, we don't even have that. We just have an ad for Blu-ray 3D, which I think we've seen before. So then inside, really like this disc art there. It's very pretty, and oddly no French on the disc art. I have no problem with that. And then we got some more art underneath there that you can see, which is quite nice. Well, I guess photos, but anyway. Yeah, so very cool stuff. I really love this movie, and I'm so happy to have it on Blu-ray. There we go. These were both released pretty close to each other. I remember they came out a few years back. Does it say on here when they were released? 2010, but that's for the 2-pack. The original release was 2009. Okay, cool. All right, so I promised you a look at some of my other goodies, didn't I? Well, let's again start with Labyrinth, where I actually have this cool book called The Goblin Companion. And what The Goblin Companion is basically a look at. Well, let's see. I'll stand up and I'll give you a look here. Is we have a whole bunch of Brian Froud's conceptual drawings and paintings for the Goblin characters throughout the movie. So we just sort of flip through it a little bit here. So we got sketches and paintings and all kinds of stuff. I actually picked this up when I was working at Chapters, I guess about 10 years ago, and it's. I remember I got this from the bargain racks. Can't remember how much. I think it was only like $5. I got like an insanely good deal on it. So pretty cool stuff, and it gives you like little bios on each of the characters and stuff like that. And I think there's a lot of characters in here also that don't even appear in the movie. So ones that he had designed but didn't quite make the cut for whatever reason. So very, very cool book. And all the text is actually written by Terry Jones, who basically wrote the screenplay and sort of worked out the details of the story based on both the artwork of Brian Froud and got tossed ideas around with Brian Froud and stuff like that, and Jim Henson, of course, who came up with the concept. So Terry Jones they talked to him quite a bit. Terry Jones, of course, is from Monty Python and directed all of the Monty Python movies, aside from a few segments that Terry Gilliam directed. But Terry Jones is a wonderful director. I mean, he really has a flair for the dramatic and the visual and stuff like that, and just a wild, crazy imagination. And add Terry Jones to Brian Froud plus Jim Henson, and that is magic in a can right there, man. So that's a really cool look behind the scenes. And as I say in the documentary, they talk to Terry Jones quite a bit, and one of the things he talks about is the fact that because Jim Henson's Creature Shop was doing everything, it was just a matter of imagining all these wonderful things, and then Brian Froud would design it, and Jim Henson and his team would build it and figure out how to make it move. And he said it was just an amazing experience working with all these great creative people and making all this cool stuff happen. So I guess I'll give you, so we talk about the, there we go. So we talk about the Dark Crystal. I'll give you a quick little 1080p look at the collector's edition, which of course I did a big video about. It's very nice. And as I said, even if I get the Blu-ray, I'm planning to keep this just because it's such a beautiful edition, and of course has all this cool swag with it. So we have the film frame there, a little bit of info about it. We actually have a letter from Cheryl Henson, which you might actually be able to read now. Let's just move it up there a little bit. So it's probably a little out of focus, but anyway, there you go. I don't have autofocus on when I'm recording because I hate it, and it never seems to focus on what I want it to focus on. And then of course we have the reproduction of Jim Henson's notepad. Lots of let's see, there, lots of cool goodies in there. Very, very nice. Yeah, I go into a little more detail about all this stuff in the overview, or the in-depth review that I did a while back. And then a nice look at the disc art. Yeah, so this is a very, very nice collector's edition. I don't even remember what I got it for. I bought this so long ago. I think I got it shortly before it went out of print, and there was just kind of a few copies kicking around, and I got it before it disappeared forever. So there we go. But wait, there's more. Recently, at a trip to a used bookstore, I actually picked up the novelization. I didn't even know there was a novel, and I just happened to see this on the shelf, and I think it was like $2. It's not in the greatest condition, but who cares? It's the freaking novel of the Dark Crystal. So, inside it's quite nice. It actually does have, I'll show you here. It does have color photos from the film. It's quite nice. The thing is, stuff like this, I know a lot of you didn't grow up in the 80s, but just to give you sort of a picture, in the early 80s, there really wasn't that much of a home video industry, and and it tended to take a very long time for movies to come to home video, if they came to home video at all. And it was all kind of in its infancy at the time. So for those of us who loved a movie and wanted to own it in some way to re-experience the story over and over again, things like this were just a treasure, because you get photos from the movie, so you can see, you have those visual cues to remember it, and you get the novel, which is often an expanded version of the story, which is just terrific. So that's very cool. So things like that were just gold to 80s movie fans, because we really didn't, a lot of the time we either A, just didn't have any other way to own the movie, or B, we would have to wait a really long time for it to come out on home video. And then of course it comes out on VHS in like some cropped full screen version, and it's just not the same experience, So another thing we would do, of course, is get the comic book adaptations. So the comic book adaptations were wonderful because they were sort of the closest you could get to having a visual version of the movie, short of getting the home video. And of course, when they did come out on home video, they were often very expensive because they would be priced to rent long before they were affordable to sell. And their price to rent, they would be something like $100. Imagine paying $100 for a VHS. This one features art by Brett Blevins, who did a lot of did some of the Marvel Epic Comics line in later years, and whose art style I always really liked. So if we just see if I can find some good spectacular. Well, here's a look at the Skeksis and stuff like that. So Marvel was kind of the king of comic book adaptations back then. They would do a lot of movies. They would often do them in this form, just as 2 or 3 issues. Sometimes you get a more thorough adaptation. I remember their Star Wars ones. They did the first 2 movies as 6 issues apiece, which was quite nice. And let's see if I can find some more spectacular pictures here. Oh, look at this, an old Dungeons and Dragons ad. Yeah, one thing I've been doing as I've been an old video game ad. One thing I've been doing is I've been going through my old comics, is actually scanning a lot of the old ads. The idea being at some point, so doing nice high resolution scans of them. So the idea being at some point I'm going to do some kind of video about, or a series of videos about old video game ads, old ads for other comics and toys and stuff like that from these old 80s comics. I actually have some dating back to the early 70s, so I'm getting to slowly putting together a very. I'm not going to bother opening this one up as well. But I'm slowly putting together a very nice archive of these classic ads. And then on the back there, you can see an ad for one of the very first Star Wars games for the Atari 2600, Jedi Arena. And as you can see, that looks. So you get like 2 guys facing off against the remote bot there, and it looks just like the characters from the movie. Yeah, I'm sure that the box art looks amazing, but yeah. Anyway, this was actually at a period when Marvel was still doing the Star Wars comics. So we'll just put those there. Very cool. Yeah, that's great stuff. I love those old comic book adaptations. So often what they would do is they would publish them in different forms. So they would have the individual issues like this. They would sometimes do them in condensed paperback form like this, with all the artwork reformatted to fit the paperback pages. And then they would also do what they called a super special. So for like big event movies where they knew they would sell a lot, they would do these magazine-sized super specials. So it would have all the same artwork from the comic, but printed on high-quality paper. So you'd have much brighter, sharper color. And often there would be slight differences between the versions as well. Like some of them would have different scenes, or they would have slightly different versions of those scenes. Like I know the Star Wars adaptations, I know went through several different versions throughout the adaptations, and I have a few of the other ones, which I'll show at some point. And then last but most certainly not least, if you're wondering what that box on the floor is there, that's actually my record collection. Yes, I'll do something about my record collection at some point. Sadly, I don't have a record player anymore, but I do still have all my old records. And one of which I was really surprised to see what good condition this is in, considering how many times I played it. I actually have the original music soundtrack of the Dark Crystal on vinyl. How cool is that? And you look at that, that's actually in pretty nice shape. A little bit worn at the bottom there, but otherwise in impeccable condition. And if you look also, speaking of embossed, look at that. The logo's nicely embossed on there, and very, very beautiful. I'll give you a quick look at the actual record itself. Just slide them out here very carefully. There we go. If you haven't seen one of these for a while, and some of you have probably never seen one. So this is wow, no scratches, no dings, nothing. I'm genuinely surprised because I played the hell out of this. I just love the music from the Dark Crystal. It's this beautiful, epic, grand, sweeping orchestral score, and it's just fantastic. I don't actually know offhand if it's ever been released on CD, but if it has, I want it. So I'll put that back in there. Yeah, I was genuinely surprised by what good condition this sleeve is in. Wow, really fantastic. Because this rarely went back into the collection. I would put this on all the time. So we're just going to slip this in behind here. And there we go. So if we maybe move this over here a little bit, sorta, there, kinda. There you go, my complete Dark Crystal and Labyrinth collection. Not too shabby. You may be thinking like, oh, what about action figures and toys and stuff like that? Yeah, I was never really big into collecting the action figure and toys. I mean, this is the Multimedia Chronicles after all. I mean, my thing has always been, enjoying the stories in various forms of media. So for me, I always really enjoyed, of course, watching the movie, but then also reading the novelizations, reading the comic book adaptations, listening to the music. This was actually notable also in that it was the first music soundtrack I ever got, and I will cherish it always for that reason. Previously, if I got a record based on a movie, it was always like one of those ones that's the story of the movie, so it uses actual audio from the movie with linking narration and basically presents like a condensed 45-minute version of the movie. I have one of Star Wars like that. I keep going back to Star Wars. It all comes back to Star Wars. I have one for Star Wars like that, just called The Story of Star Wars. And when I first got this, I actually thought that's what it was. And I remember at the time I was disappointed that that's not what it was. But I'm not disappointed anymore. But I definitely warmed up to it because I was a big fan of classical music anyway. And I really enjoyed that sort of epic orchestral score. I just always loved that style of music. I was really brought up listening to a lot of classical, so I'm very grateful to my parents for exposing me to that at a young age and giving me that experience. And yeah, so that's it. Alrighty. Well, I guess that's pretty thorough for today. A little over 20 minutes. Yeah, I think we're done. Alrighty. Thanks for watching, everybody. So until next time, sayonara.